Hi, this is Mike. I'm just going to show you how to make a two buckets into a duck feeder. The reason I'm making my own duck feeder is I wasn't satisfied with the duck feeders that were available online or anywhere else. They seem to be wanting to load up 500 pounds of food that gets messy and wet from what ducks normally do. And I wanted kind of a day-to-day feeder that I could do with my 4 Silver Appleyard ducks. And yeah, well, so I decided to make these little, take a 2 5-gallon buckets and make it into one bird feeder, the world's greatest duck feeder. You're going to have to bear with me on this. For the most part, you're going to take one bucket, measure 4.5 inches up from the bottom, put a mark centered on each side in the middle of the bucket, 4.5 inches up from the bottom, and punch a hole in there. And you can make a round circle, or you can make a square, or you can make a half moon, or whatever you choose. Just make sure it's about 2 inches off the bottom, and that gives enough food at the bottom for my 4 ducks for at least a full day, and if not more. They never eat it empty. Most of the time they're out foraging anyways. It's just the type of duck they are. And once you punch a hole, you can punch a hole any size you want. If you want a smaller hole for smaller ducks, just make a smaller hole. Just make sure that you're 2 inches. The bottom of the hole is 2 inches off the bottom of the above the bottom of the bucket. So if you want to put in a 4-inch hole, just go 4 inches off the bottom, 2 inches for off the bottom of the bucket, and then 2 inches to the center of the hole. Wherever the center of the hole is, you'd be good to go. Just move it down a little bit. And conceivably, for the bright ones out there, you could probably make this into a single bucket that has the flaps on it for rain control and the holes in it, especially for smaller ducks if you had a smaller hole. A 5-inch hole is good for mine. Like I said, I've got Silver Appleyard ducks, and they're going to get big. They're going to be over 9 pounds when they're full grown each, and they have no problems getting in there, and they don't want to even climb in it this time, so that's kind of a bonus too. So I used a 5-inch Harbor Freight hole saw for this one here. Cut 4 holes in it. They're all equally off 2 inches off the bottom, as close as I could get it, and a little bit off. That's okay. You can make, like I say, you can make smaller holes, star-shaped holes. I don't care. You can make square holes if you want. Basically, you want a hole big enough and comfortable for your ducks so they don't get their heads stuck in it. Originally, I had 2 buckets nested inside each other, and you see that gray thing at the top there? That was twice as tall because I left the 2 buckets together and then just made the flaps on the skirt around the bottom one. This one here it's going to be actually shorter than a single bucket when we see it towards the end here. So cut 5 holes in it, and then you're going to take something like steel wool or something like that. Take steel wool and rub it around the edge, just kind of smooth off the sharp spots if there's any. Make it a little comfortable for your ducks, and then go about 2 to 3 inches above the top of the hole, whatever hole you have. And if you have a very small hole, you can leave it up way off the top. But leave it about 2 to 3 inches over the top of the hole, and then cut the top of the bucket off. And you're just going to end up with a pail with 4 holes in it, and that's going to be your liner for everything you need moving forward. And it stays real clean. It stays dry in there. Mine stays real dry too. So again, just cut it off. I used a table saw on mine, and my table saw didn't like cutting plastic buckets. And I don't know, does anybody know what one of them kickback guards is? If you don't want me to explain what one looks like on my table saw, close your eyes and think of a blank slate, and you see mine, because I don't have one. On the second bucket, now the first bucket is done, so we're going to go to the second bucket, and you're going to just measure 3.5 inches down from the bottom lip, and then just cut that whole bottom of the bucket off at 3 inches. Again, I used my table saw for this one, only this time I lowered the blade, cut the flats, and then the corners were still attached, and I used my saber saw and just knocked the corners off, easy peasy. You can use a hand saw to do that. Once you get the flats cut out square, it makes it real kind of nice and even easier to work with. And then when we cut the bucket in half like that, you can see the little notches on the left-hand sides and right-hand corners there where there's like a little lip on the bottom part of the bucket. That bottom part of the bucket is pretty much useless. You can use it for anything you want, or you can make another bucket out of it with smaller holes in it. When you get the top of your bucket, after you cut the bottom half off, you want to make slots on each side, on each face, right where the bucket decides to curve around the corner. It gets thick around the corners and it's thin on the flats. And you just want to cut that vertical lines where I marked those heavy lines right up to the bottom lip of the bucket, because you're going to heat and melt up. And it's going to be a kind of a complicated step coming up, and you're going to mark all 4 sides with 2 lines each. Now this is the tough one. If you have a torch or a lighter or whatever you're going to use to heat this up, you want it to be make a quick pass right at the base where you're going to fold it out. You want to heat it up quick, full length on one. I pick one flap and then just go back and forth a couple times. It's going to melt, and it goes from kind of pliable to liquid plastic in a second. So you want to be very quick. Pull your torch away a little bit, but you want to make the cut on, or the narrow line, as narrow as possible. That way it doesn't just gooey up the whole thing. Quick slashes, back and forth. You kind of have to concentrate in the middle faster than the end, or slower in the middle than the ends, because it takes a little longer to heat up. But we're talking seconds. If you haven't done it before, grab your other bucket, practice on it a little bit, and get used to it, because basically once it melts on that line, you're going to pull the flap over, and it's going to kind of crease itself, and then you want to hold it level until it cools. One flap at a time, then you move to the next flap. Don't try to do them all at once. It'll be a melted plastic mess. So yeah, fire up your torch. If it's too hot of a burn or anything like that, just back off a little bit. But you want to keep it you want to heat it as quick as you can, so it makes a narrower melted spot. When you fold it in half, it gives you a nice clean fold. Practice it. It's worth the time to make it and do it right the first time. You don't want to ruin your good piece. And when you're done, all the flaps will fold out flat, and they'll kind of lean down naturally, and they will over time probably curdle a little bit down just to get the water to drip. You just don't want them folding up. If they're folded up, then heat it up a little bit and bend them down just a little bit more. But for the most part, I've never had any problems with them just tipping down whenever I'm done. So don't worry about that. And when you flip it on its back, I took a pair of tin snips and just rounded off the top edges and the four braces that come down the sides. That's just aesthetics mostly. You don't want your duck poking its head on one of them sharp corners if it has one. And ducks aren't usually that dumb, but yeah, then again. To assemble the two pieces, you take your top half that you just worked on and melted, and you slide it over the top of your bottom half that's going to slide inside. You slide the 4 posts on the outside, just keep pushing it down. You may have to push in at the top of the bottom bucket there to get it to slide up inside there, but it fits really easy actually. And you'll see what's hanging up. It should just slide right in there, and if it doesn't, give it a little oomph and it'll go ahead and climb right in there. They're designed that way, and it fits perfect and snug when it's in there, so you should be good to go. And when you slide it down, you're going to slide it down the side of the bucket until there's just about an inch. Those flaps are just about an inch off the top of the hole, whatever hole you have. Now again, if you have a really tiny hole, you can leave the flap up high and just leave your holes down low and not worry about it. But that's about as far down as I'd go before it starts interfering with the actual hole where the ducks are sticking their head in. You got it down that far, you want to hold it in place. You just grab the inside of the flappy doodle there and hold it together. And I drilled a 3/16 inch hole and stuck a blind rivet, also known as a pop rivet, in there without its mandrel on it. I just stuck that aluminum part without that little rod stuck on it into the hole, and it holds fine. They don't go anywhere. The reason I did that is I may have to pull it apart to clean it or something like that in sometime in the future. I've never used this before, but it's been working quite well and staying quite clean. There's nothing that really goes on in the top of the bucket. It's all down in the bottom anyway, so I just figured if I needed to, I could pull it apart if I wanted to modify something or do something different. And it's all done. That's it. That's all it takes. You keep your lid on there so you can lift it up. You can feed it pour it in from the top. You can pour it in from the side. It doesn't really matter. You want to watch that top red lid, that you don't flex it too much back and forth, because eventually that's not designed to be open too many times, being a kitty litter bucket that these are and all. And that will crack. If it does crack over time, you can actually pull that red lid off and put another one on that's not cracked quite easily. Or you can put some silicone or something up there to kind of give it a flexible hinge up there. I put mine has a feed in. I can use Purina All Life Duck Chow in it. And if you look on the center corner of that bucket there where that gray line is sticking down, that's where my table saw tried to attack me, but I won this round, table saw. And but it doesn't go all the way through, so I wasn't worried about it. Again, this is just one of my 2 prototypes that I made. This is my world's finest. The other one was the second world's greatest. And in fact, if you look on top of the bucket there, you can see 3 of my ducks' heads, but they will get bigger, and I might have to even move it up another block so they can get in there, so it's comfortable for them. But yeah, and I take that in every night. I put food in their cage, their sleeping pen for the night, and water, and then I just move it out in the morning. And I don't know how long I'll keep doing that, but it works out well for now. The food stays dry, it stays clean. Anything spilled outside was done by me in the process of loading and unloading and moving around and kicking things and tripping over things. And first time with ducks this week, and yeah, so we're all having a good time. But I do like this feeder. It does keep the food dry. And if it does get ruined, there's not a lot of it ruined. I don't ruin 25 pounds at a time from somebody getting in there. And like I say, I do pull it in at night because in case we are going to get rats or anything else coming in the neighborhood, they're gonna find no food there. So far, no problems. That's what the original bucket looks like. And then on the bottom one is what your feeder looks like. It is shorter. It is more stable. It's easy to handle. The yellow bucket handle folds down on one side or the other. You could probably melt that a little bit and keep it standing up if you really wanted to. I don't care, and the ducks don't mind. Yeah, it'll lay over one side or the other, and they'll just reach underneath. It does not bother the ducks at all. This is what the original bucket looked like with the two handles nested into each other, and it was kind of top heavy, but it had a lot of weight, kind of good weight to it, but there's nothing goes on in the top half of this bucket, and it just didn't make sense to me to have that much space wasted above just to be tippy and making it, out of two buckets and nesting them into each other like that just seemed to make more sense. So do what you want. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll be happy to try to answer them as best I can. You can also check out my Facebook page and creep around there and see some of the other stuff I got. I post a lot of weird things on my Facebook page and my YouTube channel. So anyways, have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.